In a fortress of gray stone somewhere deep in the winter of France, the year is 1396. Candles flicker against cold walls, their light bending through the drafts that slip beneath the tapestries. In a small, echoing chamber, a child stands still, while her attendants prepare her for the night the world will remember only in whispers. Her name is Isabel of Valois. She's 12 years old. Her ladies brush her long hair until it shines like spun glass, murmuring prayers in low voices, words she cannot quite hear through the rhythm of her own heart hammering in her chest. They dress her in white, a linen shift far too heavy for her small frame, and crown her with a veil that smells faintly of lavender and candle wax. Outside, the wind claws at the castle stones. Inside, the air is suffocating with the weight of ceremony. Down below in the great hall, her husband waits, King Richard II of England. He is 29, a man whose youth has already been buried beneath grief. His first wife, Anne of Bohemia, is dead. He mourned her so fiercely that England itself seemed to wear black with him. But grief is a luxury kings cannot afford for long. Peace is more valuable than mourning. And so the crown of England and the crown of France have struck a bargain sealed not with ink but with flesh. This marriage, this treaty, this exchange of a child for a promise must be made unbreakable. And to ensure that no future pope, no council, no rival monarch can question its legitimacy, the consummation must be witnessed, verified, recorded, not just once, not just for a night, for 7 days. This is not a wedding night. This is captivity, sanctified by ritual. This is the dark mathematics of medieval politics, where a girl's body becomes a document and her suffering becomes evidence. Before you hear what happened in that chamber, understand this. Everything in this story is real. It is drawn from chronicles, royal ledgers, medical texts, and clerical accounts written not in metaphor, but in ink that has survived centuries. What you're about to learn was considered civilized procedure. This was the extended bedding, the 7-day verification, the ritual designed to erase doubt by erasing humanity. In medieval Europe, marriage among the powerful had nothing to do with affection. It was a transaction, a treaty, an insurance policy bound in blood. The union between kingdoms had to produce heirs, living proof that peace had a pulse. But the fear of failure haunted every throne. What if the bride could not conceive? What if the marriage could be annulled? What if an unverified consummation gave enemies grounds to call the alliance a lie? And so they invented a system to remove uncertainty, and along with it, compassion. The typical noble wedding night was already cruel by modern standards. The bride and groom were led to bed by their attendants, stripped down by witnesses, and placed beneath the sheets, while priests blessed the act that was about to follow. Nobles stood by waiting for confirmation that the marriage had been made real. But when the stakes were greater, when a treaty depended on conception, or when the bride was too young for her body to bear the proof, the ritual stretched longer. 7 days, 7 nights, no privacy, no escape. The practice appears in multiple surviving texts. Physicians from the French court describe it clinically as though documenting an experiment. Guards posted outside the chamber, clergy and nobles entering in scheduled intervals, servants bringing trays of food and clean linens, physicians inspecting the couple twice daily, ensuring that union was achieved and pleasure recorded. The witnesses were not voyeurs, they were bureaucrats. Their purpose was not curiosity, but control. For Isabel, this was the moment her childhood ended. She was the daughter of King Charles V of France, the king they called the Mad and Queen Isabel of Bavaria. Born in silk, educated for obedience, she was never meant to live her own story, only to serve as a page in someone else's. When England and France negotiated peace after years of bloodshed, the young princess became the cost of truce. King Richard, nearly 30, reluctant and still drowning in the memory of his lost queen, resisted at first. But the crown demanded it. The contract was signed, the betrothal arranged, and Isabel was sent across the channel into a future that looked nothing like the fairy tales. The wedding took place in November 1396, a glittering spectacle of banners and hymns, feasts, and gifts. Chroniclers wrote of jewels, of candles that burned all night, of bishops pronouncing blessings over the union. But when the celebration ended, when the last goblet was emptied and the guests retired, the real ritual began. They led Isabel to the bedchamber. She walked in silence. Outside, the guards took their stations. Inside, the door closed, and history stopped being metaphor. The chronicles do not describe what followed in detail, not because they were shy, but because they were afraid. Medieval writers could describe executions in grotesque precision, but what happened in that room was something else, something too close to sacrilege. Jean Froissart, the French chronicler, wrote simply that the bedding was extended by royal order for the space of a week to secure the alliance. The Westminster Abbey record noted that physicians attended daily to verify the fulfillment of marriage. 7 days. 7 days in which a child was kept in confinement, watched, examined, her body turned into an argument for peace. To medieval minds, this made sense. Physicians of the era believed conception required female pleasure, that a woman had to release her own seed for life to begin. They believed timing. Intercourse with the moon increased fertility, that a woman's humors had to be balanced through repetition. So they prescribed what they called the full course. Eat twice daily for a week, timed according to astrological charts. Between each act, physicians would examine the bride to confirm arousal, to record evidence of the body's reaction. These reports, written in Latin, were added to the marriage record. Medical notes treated like divine proof. Imagine being 12. Imagine being told this is science. Imagine men of learning and clergy of God agreeing that this procedure, this imprisonment, was necessary for the good of nations. For Isabel, this was not a marriage, but a siege. Her body besieged by duty, her mind numbed by terror. The people around her spoke of lineage, of dynasties, of God's will. No one spoke of her pain. When she cried, they said prayers. When she flinched, they called it confirmation. When she bled, they called it evidence. Outside the chamber, the French ambassadors waited for news to send. Home. Their letters to Paris record the same cold assurance. The marriage had been properly completed. No emotion, no detail, just proof that the alliance was sealed. Inside, Isabel endured what no child should. When she finally emerged after 7 days, pale and silent, she was still only 12. She did not conceive. Her body was not ready, no matter what the doctors believed. And though she survived, something inside her had already been claimed. Some accounts suggest that King Richard, disgusted, or perhaps guilty, withdrew from her thereafter. He treated her not as a wife, but as a ward, a political ornament he could not return. They never had children. When he was overthrown and later killed in 1400, Isabel was 16. She was sent back to France, still barely more than a child, to begin again, remarried years later to Charles of Orleans, where she finally bore children of her own. but the scars of that first marriage remained invisible and permanent.